Hola chicos, bienvenidos a mi canal Español con Juani. Now here are some important key words that are absolutely essential for you if you're an absolute beginner to Spanish. Now keep in mind, these words will just give you a foundation so that you can actually start forming sentences and questions together so that you can actually carry out a basic conversation in Spanish. So before we start, I'd really encourage you to write these down but also practice saying these out loud as well. Now let's jump into it. When you first meet someone new, what do you typically say first? Hola, ¿cómo estás? So, hola, ¿cómo estás? Hello, how are you? Hola, ¿cómo estás? What do you normally say next? Me llamo, my name is, me llamo, Juani. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? What's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? Now remember, when you translate things from English over into Spanish, just bear in mind it's not always going to translate perfectly, and I'll give you a few more examples of that later on. Other questions you'll probably ask someone: ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? Soy de, I am from, soy de Nueva Zelanda. Soy de Nueva Zelanda, or wherever it is that you're from. ¿Dónde vives? ¿Dónde vives? Where do you live? ¿Dónde vives? Vivo en Australia. So vivo en Australia. So I live in Australia. Vivo en Australia, or wherever it is that you're currently living. Now let's imagine you're in a restaurant and you're talking to the waiter. What are some useful questions to ask in this situation? ¿Cuánto cuesta? So ¿cuánto cuesta? A really useful phrase, how much is it? ¿Cuánto cuesta? Or what's another question that's really useful if you're in a restaurant? ¿Dónde está el baño? So ¿dónde está el baño? Where is the bathroom? ¿Dónde está el baño? So you can see there the word ¿dónde means where. So it's a really useful word, especially if you're in a foreign country, because you're not going to know where anything is. Okay, so ¿dónde? But the phrase ¿dónde está? Where is a really useful phrase so that you can ask where something is. Por ejemplo, ¿dónde está el hotel? So ¿dónde está el hotel? Where is the hotel? Now you'll notice there, in Spanish, the letter H has no sound. Okay, so it's always silent. So it wouldn't be ¿dónde está el hotel? It'll be ¿dónde está el hotel? Some more examples. ¿Dónde está el supermercado? So ¿dónde está el supermercado? Now let's imagine we're back in that restaurant, you're reading through the menu and you don't quite understand what something is. So you want to ask the waiter, ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso? What is that? ¿Qué es eso? Or ¿qué significa eso? So ¿qué significa eso? What does that mean? ¿Qué significa eso? So those two are really important, but some more really important phrases that you need to know. These ones will come in really handy for you. If you don't understand what someone says, no entiendo, no entiendo, I don't understand, no entiendo. And a good one to follow that up with is puedes repetir. So puedes repetir. Can you repeat it? Puedes repetir. So no entiendo, puedes repetir. Another really important one, ¿cómo se dice? So ¿cómo se dice? How do you say? ¿Cómo se dice? Por ejemplo, if you wanted to ask what a particular word is in Spanish, you'd say ¿cómo se dice beach en español? Or ¿cómo se dice airport en español? Or ¿cómo se dice car en español? Another really important one if you're in a foreign country, hablas inglés. So, hablas inglés. Do you speak English? Hablas inglés. Or hablas español. So hablas español. Do you speak Spanish? And hopefully in the future you'll be able to respond with sí, hablo español. Sí, hablo español. yes, I speak Spanish. Or you can say for now, hablo un poco. So hablo un poco. I speak a little. Hablo un poco. Now, another really good example of things not translating perfectly from English over into Spanish is when you ask the question, ¿Cuántos años tienes? So, ¿Cuántos años tienes? How old are you? ¿Cuántos años tienes? So the direct translation would be in Spanish, how many years do you have? So how many years do you have? So for me, for example, I'm 34, but in Spanish, I'd really say I have 34 years. Tengo 34 años. So tengo 34 años. Some other basic Spanish words, sí. So sí, which means yes. No is the same, no. Gracias, so gracias, thank you. De nada, so de nada, you're welcome. Por favor, so por favor, please. Adiós, adiós, goodbye, or see you later. Hasta luego, hasta luego. Now everyone, have a listen to this. So this is just a basic conversation so you can see how all these words and phrases can come together to form a basic conversation. So imagine you're a tourist, you've arrived in Spain, it's your first time in the country, and you've just arrived in your hotel, and you've just met someone who works at the hotel. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? Bien, me llamo Juani. ¿Cómo te llamas? Mucho gusto. Me llamo Pablo. Juani, ¿de dónde eres? Soy de Nueva Zelanda, pero vivo en Australia. Pablo, ¿hablas inglés? Sí, un poco. ¿Cómo se dice the beach en español? The beach is la playa. Gracias. ¿Dónde está la playa? A 2 cuadras del hotel. No entiendo, Pablo. ¿Puedes repetir, por favor? A 2 cuadras del hotel. ¿Qué significa cuadra? Cuadra significa block. Entiendo. Muchas gracias. De nada. Hasta luego. Now, in my experience, the number one thing that stops people from learning another language is the fear of making a mistake, or the fear of doing something wrong, or the fear of embarrassing yourself, which is actually quite reasonable because when you think about it, think of a baby when they're learning a language. No one really judges them when they make a mistake or when they say something wrong because no one really cares because everyone just thinks, you know, it's a baby, it's something that's normal, it's part of the process. However, as we become adults, it's a lot different. People do judge us when we make mistakes. People do judge us when we make errors. So just remember that learning another language, it's part of the process to make a lot of mistakes, okay? It's just part of the journey, but believe me, it is worth it in the end. Now to finish, if you got any value from this video, please consider liking the video, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. If there's any topics or anything in Spanish that you'd like me to cover in future, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, but apart from that, I'll see you in the next one. Hasta pronto.